This YCN segment is brought to you by Lake Sunapee Visiting Nurse Association and Hospice.
Welcome back, YCN Sports Talk. Jeremy Stout, and joining me this week, Brett Franklin from ESPN Radio for the Upper Valley, 94.5 FM. And Brett, we move over to the NFC. Obviously, it's Patriots, basically the front runner in the AFC. The NFC is much more wide open, and I think there can be a case made for any of the 6 teams that are going to get in. There's still 1 or 2 spots still on the line, but the Eagles clinched the number 1 seed over an ugly win over the Raiders. Questionable Nick Foles. He didn't have a great game. He's played before. He's not young, but can they go anywhere with him? What's your confidence level in that?
I'll make a bold prediction right here on this very show, Jeremy. The top 2 seeds in the NFC, neither of them will get to the NFC Championship game. I'm not buying into Minnesota. I'm not buying into the Eagles. Carson Wentz going. You just can't replace that type of dynamic that he gives. And yeah, Foles has kind of struggled here and there the last couple of weeks. And it is worrisome that he struggled against a team that was not even in playoff contention. It was tough to watch against Oakland. But yeah, I think if I'm an Eagles fan, I am definitely on high alert, and they'll probably be an underdog coming into their first playoff game after the divisional round.
Very well could be, because some of the teams, as we see down the way, have some experience. You obviously have Drew Brees of the Saints, Matt Ryan of the Falcons could be there, Cam Newton. There's a lot of teams. Are there any teams that you like more than others? You obviously, hey, you heard it here first. The top 2 teams are out. Which one of those teams could catch lightning in a bottle and maybe win? Maybe 3 road games.
It looks like it's feeling like the Saints, to be quite honest. They've got a dynamic backfield, and Drew Brees not been asked to do a ton this year. Balance is actually the strange word used with the Saints team, right? Where they're always throwing the ball all up and down the field. They actually have a run game this year. Brees having a good season, but not in his typical year where he won't. I think he might barely get to 4,000 yards throwing this year, if that. But either way, I think the Saints have it. Their defense is actually somewhat better this year. I think it's New Orleans that could be the team that gets the momentum.
And it's interesting, you mentioned the balance in the running game, and they started the season with an Adrian Peterson, and he wasn't getting the touches, he wasn't getting the play, and now you got Kamara in there, Thomas, you've got guys who can run the ball, who can catch. Ingram, their defense, you're right, it's not a top 10 defense, maybe a top 5 defense, but it's much more improved. So it's looking like a Saints team who should wrap up the division this week and get the number 3 seed. So they won't have as far to go, but is there any, can the Falcons? What is your feeling on the Falcons? Everyone I talk to, some people love them, they're getting hot. Some people say no way, can't do it.
I'm not buying in, Jeremy. I just think the Falcons, Matt Ryan's has been very hit or miss this year. The defense has looked bad at times. I don't like the play calling. Clearly, I think there's been a missing dynamic without Kyle Shanahan there. I'm not buying into the Falcons. I know there's going to be some real significant changes for another team to come in, maybe like Seattle.
Yep.
But this may come down to the last play of the 4 o'clock games. Remember, all games are at 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock this week. No Sunday night games, so I think it's going to take all the way to the end of this one, Week 17, to find out who's going where for the NFC. But I'm not buying in on the Falcons.
And one team I'm not buying in, they're not even in. I don't think even if they made it would be the Seahawks you mentioned. If they get some help and they win their game and they could make it in, but I just don't think with the bodies, they just don't have enough health.
The fact that the Falcons are playing at home, but they're playing the Panthers, who they have something to play for
too. For the division also.
I think the Falcons, even though they are at home, I do like the Panthers in that game. So I think there'll be an opening when it's all said and done.
Yeah, and the Rams, we haven't touched on them. Twofold question. First of all, can they do something with the young team that they have? And then also, Todd Gurley, should he be in MVP consideration, or are we just talking crazy and it's just Brady's to win?
He should be in the MVP conversation, but the MVP is now most, MVQB, most valuable quarterback. And listen, Russell Wilson, Tom Brady, it's going to go to one of those 2 guys, most likely Brady, because the Seahawks will be out of the playoffs. But Gurley has just been huge. I mean, he's taken so much pressure off Jared Goff this year that he's been able to settle in nicely as a quarterback. Don't sleep on the Rams. They have a good defense, and especially if they play at home, if they get a couple of home games, they should be a dangerous team.
Yeah, they should get at least 1 home game, and then obviously, as you said, if 1 or 2 or both of the top 2 seeds don't make it to the NFC Championship, maybe that's the Rams. That's Brett's sleeper pick of the NFC side. Not to make it to the Super Bowl. We won't pin you on that one, but watch out for the Rams.
Not yet.
We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll get into some college football. Obviously, bowl season in full swing. some comments off the field, and talk some Bulls as well. You're watching YCN Sports Talk.